Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a series that really needs no introduction. Pretty much anyone who grew up in the 2000s or 2010s knows what it is. It was so popular, in fact, that when I was in middle school, our school librarian took the books away from her shelves. She also took away Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events, but that lady really didn't want reading to be enjoyable for anyone. Maybe that wasn't Diary of a Wimpy Kid's fault. Anyways, the series is about Greg Heffley, a middle school boy whose life is, well, just to put it lightly, a little crazy. Just a little bit. The first book was released in 2007 and took readers by storm. The writing style and presentation made it enjoyable for a very wide age range, and as such it sold many copies. A sequel to the book was written and so on, and eventually Jeff Kinney's Star series made it to movies and other media. With 20 books as of the recording of this video and the series itself almost being 20 years old, Diary of a Wimpy Kid has a lot of media, stories, and theories surrounding it. Fans have had time to make theories about things and speculate. Manny became the face of a political movement a while back. Some even think that Greg is trapped in a time loop repeating his years of middle school forever. Today, we'll be taking a look at all of this in the form of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid Iceberg. For those who are unfamiliar with what an iceberg chart is, it's basically a type of list sorting information from most well-known to most obscure. Similar to an iceberg in real life, the deeper you go, the less light there is shed on the iceberg. The lower on the list you go, the less well-known the information is. Some of the time, the information on iceberg charts is so obscure that research for it is almost impossible to come by. If this happens to be the case, I'll make my own theory on it. This particular iceberg's creator's Reddit account was deleted, totally fair, Reddit sucks, so if you were the one who made the iceberg and want credit, please comment. However, that's enough yapping. Here's the Diary of a Wimpy Kid Iceberg. So, to start, let's begin with the first tier. There are 10 on this specific iceberg, and we will be covering 5 today. I mean, it's a pretty long iceberg, so go get a snack, get comfortable, and enjoy. The first entry on this iceberg has to do with the theory that Greg is a sociopath. The definition of a sociopath is a person who manipulates, shows manipulative behavior, and shows antisocial behavior. Greg seems to be manipulative towards Rowley on multiple occasions and often acts like he's in the right when he does something selfish or rude to others. Once, when Greg was in safety patrols, he terrorized some kindergartners with a worm. When he was caught by a neighbor, he was mistaken for Rowley due to borrowing his coat. Rowley gets called into the office and Greg has the option to come clean, and he waits for Mr. Winsky to discover the truth on his own. Greg believes this is the right thing to do, and Susan even takes him out for ice cream after he tells her he did the right thing. However, spoilers for Wrecking Ball, this theory doesn't always apply to Greg, as at the end of Wrecking Ball, he cries when he is about to move away from Rowley and cannot see him anymore. This shows that on, well, some capacity, Greg does genuinely care about Rowley as his best friend. However, Greg continues to show sociopathic traits after he is to stay in his current city. Susan is a Karen. It's no secret that Greg's mother, Susan, is a bit of a helicopter parent, as some might say. She believes that everything and everyone needs to bow down to her. Once, she drove to the school to take a leather jacket from Greg that Frank let him wear and made a big scene out of it. She tries to insert herself in things she doesn't really have any business being a part of, such as in Double Down, where she accompanies Greg to a Halloween party and introduces a bunch of games and other things to the party. I guess everyone enjoyed it, so it's not really that big of a deal, but you get the idea. Susan does this a lot. She also needed things to be perfect on the family's road trip in the long haul. Long story short, she may be a bit intrusive on her children's lives, I mean, that's putting it lightly, but I personally don't think that she's like a full-blown Karen, even though she's had her moments. Like, that's not her all the time, but she does have Karen moments. The movies. With Diary of a Wimpy Kid being as popular as it is, it comes as no surprise that there have been movie adaptations of the books. There are currently 4 live-action films adapting the first book, Roderick Rules, Dog Days, and The Long Haul. Keep that last one in mind, it'll be important later. Disney has recently made animated versions of the first book, Roderick Rules, and Cabin Fever, all of which have been poorly received, to say the least.
Devin Bostick. Devin Bostick is the actor for Roderick in the Roderick Rules movie and in the first 3 Wimpy Kid movies.
He was born in 1991 in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He has been in many other films such as Oppenheimer and Saw 4. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is popular among memers and Redditors. It's no secret that Greg Heffley has been popular with meme culture. Particularly, the most notable meme is the "I'm not gay Greg" meme that shows Greg confessing his feelings for Rowley. This is not canon, rather it's from a fanfic known as 25 Years Later. More on this masterpiece later. Another commonly posted meme is a shot of Rowley from the movie looking uncomfortable. Roderick Rules is the best movie adaptation. Really, when it comes to the best movie adaptation, that's up to the viewer of the movie to decide. However, I agree with the Iceberg creator's choice of Roderick Rules being the best one. I felt the story of that one flowed quite nicely and had a good ending. Feel free to put your favorite adaptation and why you agree or disagree with me in the comments though. Awesome Friendly Kid. Diary of an Awesome Friendly Kid is a spin-off series of the main books told from the perspective of Rowley. Do-it-yourself book. The Diary of a Wimpy Kid Do-It-Yourself book is a fill-in-the-blanks kind of book. It has many different activities in it, mainly putting you in the shoes of Greg Heffley. The books got worse over time. So it's no secret that Diary of a Wimpy Kid isn't what it used to be. With 20 books out as of the recording of this video, Jeff has got to be running out of ideas. For example, in Roderick Rules, the story jumps around different subjects and incidents and it overall is very interesting and engaging. In newer books, such as Big Shot, the entire book is about sports and it feels stagnant and stale at times since the subject doesn't differentiate from sports and is not really done all that well, I'd want to say. The newer books rely on extreme things happening all at once rather than small things happening throughout that add up to the underlying plot, which was definitely more interesting in my opinion. Except in the case of Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball was pretty good. The Long Haul movie sucks. The fourth live-action movie for Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul, was received very poorly. For starters, the entire cast was changed. This led to the whole #NotMyRoderick business. The new actor for Roderick, Charlie Wright, says that this meme ruined his life. It wasn't his fault the movie was trash, that's on the people who actually wrote it. On top of all of this, the movie was pretty weak compared to the first three. So many people left bad reviews for it on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, it's not even funny. I personally think people were being a little bit extreme about it, but the cast change is unacceptable in my opinion. Let's now move on to the second tier of our iceberg. Things start to fall away from being common knowledge in this section. Y'all knew what was coming. Dork Diaries cashed in on Diary of a Wimpy Kid's popularity. Yeah, well, what Diary of a Wimpy Kid video would be complete without mentioning Dork Diaries, or Big Nate, well, no, more on Big Nate later. Dork Diaries is a series very similar to Diary of a Wimpy Kid, except with a female protagonist. Dork Diaries' first book was released in 2010, a mere 3 years after the original Wimpy Kid took the world by storm, and that was when the Wimpy Kid movie came out. Dork Diaries seemingly caused a chain reaction of new quote-unquote diary-styled books to come out, such as Diary of a Farting Creeper. More on that later. I did read a Dork Diaries book for the purpose of making this video, and the actual content is pretty different from Diary of a Wimpy Kid, although the premise seems similar. One main difference between the two is that while absolutely bonkers things actually happen to Greg and co., Nikki, the protagonist of Dork Diaries, overreacts to the smallest things happening. That's where a lot of the drama in her book comes from. Where Greg's fiascos may be triggered by millions of different things, usually things that happen to Nikki are caused by her arch nemesis, Mackenzie Hollister. However, there is no denying that Dork Diaries did take some influence from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Diary of a Wimpy Kid was originally a webcomic. Before the books were published, the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid books were made as a webcomic. Jeff would post Greg's journal entries as online reading material all the way back in 2004. Some notable differences in the webcomic version versus the books were that the journal was originally Greg's way of getting out of chores. If he wrote in it often, he was allowed to get out of one chore. Also, some branded products, such as a Sony Walkman, showed up. Most notably, Fregley was actually a special needs child. There were mentions of alcohol and cigarettes in the online version as well. Jeff Kinney is also a game designer. Jeff Kinney made a flash game known as Pop Tropica back in 2006. It was basically a point-and-click educational online game. To no one's surprise, the game also had Wimpy Kid crossovers. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is satirical. Greg Heffley is noticeably very selfish and does things no one should look up to. These instances of Greg being evil are used humorously, even when they backfire on him. This happens a lot, so yeah, might definitely say that Diary of a Wimpy Kid is satire. An Unlikely Story. Jeff Kinney opened a bookstore known as An Unlikely Story in Plainville, Massachusetts in May of 2015. Jeff is also buying up properties in Plainville to attempt to revitalize the town center and make it nicer, which right now looks pretty dead. Good on Jeff. Manny protest art. So in 2020, during all the protests and riots, Manny somehow became, I guess, an icon? A TikTok post of someone drawing Manny on a floor tile angry about police violence with chalk went viral. Soon after this, many pictures of Manny graffiti spread like wildfire. Someone even went as far as to design a quote-unquote new flag for the US that replaced the blue part with Manny's face. A petition to change the US flag to this got around 1 million signatures. I mean, it was a joke petition, but still. Jeff Kinney actually responded to this whole "Manny will not be televised" drama. Lots of people are asking me right now how I feel about my character being used as an anti-police symbol. Honestly, I don't like it. The Black Lives Matter movement needs to be taken seriously, he said in a now-deleted Twitter post. Diary of a Wimpy Kid took 6 years to make. This one is self-explanatory. Jeff started writing a manuscript in 1999, and he published some of it online as the webcomic in 2005. r/loaded diaper. r/loaded diaper is a Reddit page dedicated to all things Wimpy Kid. Sometimes fanfics, such as the infamous 25 Years Later story, pop up on here.
Well, now we move on to Tier 3, which is below the water. Maybe one of y'all should get me a snorkel before I drown.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid is meant for kids and adults. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is almost 20 years old. A lot of the people who grew up reading it are in their 20s and late teens now. Some still keep up with the series. I personally feel like Wimpy Kid is still a decent read even as I grow older, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks that. Also, the series was originally meant as a nostalgia piece for adults when it was originally conceived. The movies are a staple of Cartoon Network. According to what I found online, the Wimpy Kid movies seem to air at least once a month on Cartoon Network. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a spiritual adaptation of Jeff Kinney's childhood. Some people have wondered if Jeff Kinney's childhood might actually have been the inspiration for Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I did some digging and actually found a Goodreads page where someone asked Jeff about this. He responded with, in a sense, yes, and in another, no. It's a fictional world, but it's grounded in some real-world truths. Some things that happened in the books could certainly have been inspired by Jeff's childhood. The latest books try to stay relevant. The more recent books that have come out of the Wimpy Kid franchise have, to no one's surprise, attempted to stay relevant. I noticed how in my read-through of Hot Mess, cell phones and the internet seem to be shoehorned into places they didn't belong. Aunt Veronica's dog getting famous seemed unnecessary at first. It did tie into the plot later on, but I felt like that definitely was an attempt at staying relevant that didn't need to happen. I feel like a part of the charm of old Wimpy Kid is that it felt like someone's childhood in the 2000s. Older people's experience with the series is with the movies. This one sounds about right. I'd imagine the Iceberg creators talking about how parents or other family members get introduced to the Wimpy Kid series through watching the movies with their children. The Movie Diary. The Movie Diary is a set of 2 books that show behind-the-scenes information about the making of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. The first Movie Diary has to do with the first 3 films, and the second is for the long haul. There is an upcoming animated movie on Disney+. Said movie is out, and there's 3 of them now. People are either indifferent about them or hate them. I can't say I'm a big fan of them going 3D with Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I think 2D would have been the way to go, and the same definitely goes for Big Nate's animated show. Okay, so we now move on to the 4th tier of our iceberg. It's getting cold down here. Somebody should give me a heater or a blanket or something. Just, I don't know, it's getting cold. Diary of a Wimpy Kid and Big Nate influenced each other. So, unlike Dork Diaries, the author of the Big Nate books, Lincoln Pierce, is actually friends with Jeff Kinney. Big Nate originated as a comic strip in 1991, and the full-length books were put together with influence from Jeff. Big Nate was even hosted on Pop Tropica at one point. Jeff even has a quote on the front of the cover of one of the Big Nate books. Holly Hills wasn't that prominent in the series. Holly Hills is Greg's crush. He makes a big deal about her in the first few books, then seemingly forgets she exists for the rest of the series. Sometimes she's mentioned, but really not all that much after the first couple books. Real-world consoles appear in the series. In the online version of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, PlayStations are mentioned by name. An Xbox 360 can be seen in the movies, and a Nintendo 64 can be seen in the books, with its iconic 3-prong controller being held by Greg multiple times. The movies aren't accurate adaptations. With any book that gets adapted into a film, there are usually differences. In Diary of a Wimpy Kid's case, sometimes parts of the story are changed. A major difference in the case of Dog Days is that Greg and Holly become a couple at the end of the film, and in the book, he wants nothing to do with her. Ben Fielders. Ben Fielders is Greg's former best friend in the online series before Rowley. Greg and Ben had a comedy gig back in 5th grade that made them quite popular among their class. Manny ruined every sleepover that the two had, and there were a lot of them. Greg and Ben stopped being friends after he moved away to Piscataway, New Jersey. Angie Stedman. Angie Stedman is a character that is exclusive to the movies. She is sort of what I guess you'd call a mentor character to Greg and Rowley. She works for the school newspaper. She is a grade ahead of Greg and Rowley. Dates of specific days in the year in the books conflict with each other. So I couldn't find any specific days in the books that conflicted with each other, but the actual years of when the books take place and some other odds and ends seem to. People online speculate that the series takes place in 2008 to 2009, while the wiki states 2003. Manny is allegedly 3 years old in the books when Greg says he's been trying to keep the name Bubby, a nickname Manny calls him, under wraps for 5 years. Alright, downward, time to cover our 5th tier. British Happy Meals. In the UK, McDonald's ran a set of promotional Diary of a Wimpy Kid books with Happy Meals in 2016. They all seem to be satirical survival guides. The same promotion was run in Australia in 2019. The Long Haul Movie Diary. So earlier I mentioned that there were movie diaries, which are basically just behind-the-scenes books for the live-action movies. Due to the cast switch-up and overall different vibe of the movie, a second movie diary was made for the Long Haul movie. Some people look down on Diary of a Wimpy Kid due to its cartoony art style. Well, this is self-explanatory. Igdoof. Igdoof is the name of a comic strip Jeff Kinney made while attending college at the University of Maryland. He drew the strip for the school's newspaper. However, the strip was rejected by local newspapers after he graduated. The titular character, Igdoof, even resembles Manny. Igdoof was even featured in Big Nate comic strips back in the day. The comic revolves around Igdoof and his roommate Ralph. Many aspects of Igdoof inspired or made it into Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Angie Stedman's actor voice acted in a Studio Ghibli movie.
Chloe Grace Moretz, the actress who played Angie, starred as the main character's voice actor in the English version of The Tale of Princess Kaguya. I don't know if I butchered that. I had to do some digging for that one. Secret comics in the movie's background. So, I could not find any information on this one, nor do I recall there being secret comics hidden in the movie's background, but the author of the iceberg likely paused the movie while watching it and saw a hidden detail. Maybe it was like a hidden Igdoof comic on the wall or something? I don't know. If you do, please go ahead and comment your findings. And that's all for this part 1 of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid Iceberg. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and comment. I'll reply to as many comments as I can. Stay tuned as I'm going to have a part 2 up shortly. Thanks for watching. This has been Jerry Can Productions. Peace.